Hi everyone, this is Sumant, and with this video tutorial, I will cover the aspects of reading data from a file, writing data to a file, and using the .NET file dialog controls. Now, the process of saving data in a file is known as writing data, and the process of retrieving data from a file is called reading data. Now, there are three steps that are involved when you are reading a file using the program. The first step is opening the file, then we process the file, and eventually we close the file. For this tutorial, I'll be using the example on your screen in which the application reads the sales.txt file and it will calculate the total values in this text file and display the output in this label. But I will not be using the uh, example directly. I have modified the example so that I can illustrate the open file dialog and save file dialog options which are provided by the .NET framework. So you can see on the screen that the form is a bit different from what has been given in the example. So now I have included two buttons, open file and save file. One more thing to note here is I have included an open file dialog. Now to add an open file dialog, go to the toolbox and search for open file dialog, double click, and when the control is created, it does not appear on the form. So you can see the open file dialog is nowhere in the form, but it goes to the area in the bottom of the designer window, which is called the component tray. So the open file dialog, and similarly we have a save file dialog. So if you double click, it is added to the component tray and is not a part of the GUI form that you have created. Now, what is the use of this open file dialog? It is basically a standard Windows open dialog box that allows the user to browse through the system and select a file which he wants this application to read and do the processing on. Let us go ahead and double click on the open file button, which takes us to the code editor view. So we are inside the click event of the open file button. Now, open file is the name of open file dialog control. You can see it here. That's the name. So when you run and execute this program, you will see that a standard Windows form is being displayed on the click of the open file. Now it has both open as well as cancel. Now if you want to know whether the user clicked on the open button or the cancel button, you will have to take care of it programmatically. Now let's see here. We have the show dialog event of the open file. Now we are verifying if the user clicked on open, and we get the name of the file that the user selected, and we are storing it inside the file name. And we prompt a message to the user saying the file name was successfully loaded. In case the user clicks on cancel, as in the case I just did, so I prompt a message to the user that I was not able to load the file. Next we code for the calculate button. So double click on calculate, which takes you to the click event. First thing what you see is a try catch block. Now this has been introduced in case there are exceptions by any statement during the file processing. So the catch statement would take care of that. The next thing what we have are the decimal variables total and sales. So while the text file is being read line by line by the code, the sales value is assigned, the numeric value is being read into it, and the total just is more of an accumulator which takes the value from the previous sales and sums it up to the total. We also have a file name here, and this file name was made a class level variable because if you remember, while coding for the open file, we specified the file name, we assigned a value to it. So Later we'll see how this file name comes into picture. Now, in order to read data from a text file, we will have to create a stream reader object. So we're declaring the variable here. We use file.openText. Now this will open the file and assign that object to stream reader. So stream reader input file, we assign a value to it, and the file name is what we opened using the on the click of the open file button. We then loop around through the file till the end of the file has been reached, and while we are looping around, we read the value of each line using the readLine method. We parse it and store it inside sales, and then we increment the total value with the sales. So this total plus equal sales is nothing but, so if you can see in the next iteration, the first value of total was 5 and the next value of sales is 10. So in the next iteration, this value would be 5 plus 10 becomes 15. In the next iteration, total becomes 15 plus sales, say X value. So it becomes 15 plus X. Now why we have to loop around it? Because our sales.txt file is in this format. We have to read each line and store these values, summing it up till the end of the line has been reached. And this is taken care by the while loop. We then go ahead and close the input file, which is the stream reader. We close it because we have done reading the file, and we convert the total value which has been uh, calculated here to a string and then display it on the total label. We will now code for the save file. Uh, so instead of using the save file dialog, which is here, which gives the opportunity of the user to select the directory using the standard Windows GUI. Uh, I will be using a different approach. So inside the save button, uh, now since stream reader was was being used to read the file, we have something called a stream writer, which is used to write or persist or basically append to any file. What we do next is use the random function, invoke the random class. Why are we doing this? I just wanted to experiment around and show you how random works. Then we create a file name. So the file name now is called sales underscore random.nextValue.toString. We will have to convert it to a string because we are trying to concat different strings into this value and eventually specify the extension of the file. So my output file now in this case, when the user clicks on the save button, would be sales underscore some random value dot text. Next, we are opening the input file. So I open the input file. Now I'm using append text here. In case the file already exists, it will start appending to it. And if the file does not exist in the first place, it will create it. If it is already existing, it will start appending at the end of the file. I'm then persisting. By persisting, I mean I'm writing the file name. Now the file name is the one which was the input file name and not the output file name. You remember when the user clicked on open button, he selected a file. So I'm specifying a file name. I'm giving some random string here. Then I'm printing the total sales which was calculated when I clicked on the calculate button. Printing some random string here. Eventually, the stream writer which was opened earlier using this, I'm closing it. And after closing, I'm giving a notification to the user saying that the file was successfully updated. In case there's something wrong that happens here during the file processing, so the code falls back to the catch block where the exception is being thrown, and I will be showing this message that I was not able to save the file and the stack trace of the message. And the last thing is the exit button underscore click. Now by this time I'm pretty sure you guys are aware of how this works. So this dot close to exit from the application. Now let's execute this. Click on start. There you have the GUI form. Click on open file. I select the sales.txt, the one which was here. So I select sales.txt, click on open. It says the file blah 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 was successfully loaded. I click on OK. I click on calculate total. It does the calculation. I then say save file. So it created a file sales underscore some random number dot text and gave a message to the user saying it was updated successfully. Now let's click on exit. Now let's try and open the file which was recently created. Now if you remember the code, I was writing the file name which I had opened. So this was my file name. I had a random beautification string after that, then printing the total sales, and then some beautification again. So this is the format. Now let's run again and see if I click on open file, I click on cancel, so it says unable to open the file. I click on save file, it says sales updated successfully, but I believe that file will be empty because so yeah, it is empty because it has nothing. So as a programmer, you can make sure that you have validations. Say if the file was not opened and was not selected by the user, the total is not calculated or the file is not saved, so that you do not have empty files, empty strings in your output. So to summarize, in this video tutorial, you learned how to read the data from a file, how to write data to a file, and how to use open file dialog controls. Thank you for watching this video.